Welcome to the Israel Now Forum webinar series. I'm Maura Schreier-Fleming, Chairman of the Israel Now Forum Speakers Committee. The in-person Israel Now Forum is in the planning process for 2026. We want to thank our webinar partner, Southwest Jewish Congress. Today's webinar features Dr. Mordechai Kedar, an international expert of Arab and Islamic culture and researcher at Bar Ilan University in Israel. He will discuss his Middle Eastern insights and the one and only solution for most of the problems in the Middle East. Dr. Kedar has promoted a Palestinian-Israeli peace plan, referred to as the Palestinian Emirates, or the 8-state solution, since 2012. He served for 25 years in the Israel Defense Forces military intelligence, specialized in Islamic groups, the political discourse of Arab countries, the Arabic press and mass media, and the Syrian domestic arena. He is fluent in Hebrew, Arabic, and English. Dr. Kedar is described as, quote, one of the few Arabic-speaking Israeli pundits seen on Arabic satellite channels defending Israel. Please use the Q&A Zoom feature to submit your questions during the webinar, and we'll have time for questions. So let's get started. Dr. Kedar, thank you for joining us. And please start with an overview of what the 8-state solution is that you propose.
Thank you so much, Maura, for arranging this meeting. In order to understand anything in the Middle East, you should go to sociology of the Middle East. Leave politics. Politics is the only foam on the water. Go to sociology, and even rather, you should go to anthropology. How the social frameworks are built and working in the Middle East. To make it short, the Middle East, or the culture of the Middle East, is comprised of three parts. One part is tribalism, group thinking, group behavior, and whatever connected to the family, extended family, or I would say clan. This is the result of the fact that 98% of the Middle East is a desert. Giant desert, the Sahara Desert, the Saudi Desert, Iraqi, Syrian, Jordanian, even in Israel, half of the country is a desert. In the desert, if you want to survive, you have to live near a source of water. I'm talking about hundreds of thousands of years already, since human beings started to live in this region. And in order to protect your source of water, you cannot live as an individual. You must live as a group. And the most consolidated and therefore strong group is the family, the father and the sons. The father and the sons. And after a generation, it's the grandchildren. And after another generation, the great-grandchildren. And therefore, you start living as a group, as a clan, tribe, name it the way you like. The important is the framework. And living as a clan is a very strict rules. Otherwise, you cannot survive in the desert. You open business only with your family. You marry your daughter in the family with the price of genetic problems. You take revenge if somebody from another family killed one of your cousins. The other is the enemy, by definition. And all these matters of phenomena, which are connected to tribalism, which see all over the Middle East until this very day. This is the most powerful cornerstone of culture in the Middle East. It is within Muslims, it is within Christians, it is within Alawites, Druze. The religion doesn't matter in this. Tribalism is the most important and most powerful component of Middle East culture. 14 centuries ago, only which is a spark in history. Islam came to the world in order to replace tribalism. Now, according to the Islamic idea, all the Muslims, regardless of their tribes and clans, are one nation, are one people. They can marry with each other. They open business. They should open business with each other. They should feel fraternity with each other. With each other. And the Prophet Muhammad is quoted to say that the Islamic nation is like just like the human body. If you have a wound in your foot, you will have fever in your head. To that degree, the unification or the unity of the human body should be also within the Islamic nation, whether you are an Arab or Persian or Turkish or Kurds or Baluchis or Pashtun or whoever you are, doesn't matter. As long as if you are Muslim, you should feel fraternity to another Muslim. This is the idea, to unite all and to make peace, because now tribes will cease fighting with each other because they are all under Allah. They all believe in the same God, and this is how to abolish the tribalism and to replace it with a religious belief which will unite them all. This was the Islamic idea. It failed, totally failed, because you can see until this very day how the Turkish are killing the Kurds, although they are both Sunni Muslims. People in Iraq are killing each other. People in, what happened in Darfur only recently, what we saw, the atrocities in Yemen, in Syria, and there are all Muslims there. Not all of them. There are Alawites and Christians, but you could see definitely Muslims killing Muslims non-stop. So evidently, Islam failed to replace tribalism and to put peace instead of inter-tribal feuds and struggles. So this is 14 centuries of failure. 250 years ago, more or less, modernism started to come to the Middle East. And this is the third component of the culture of the Middle East. Modernism means nationalism, patriotism, liberalism, democracy, socialism, communism, all these Western isms which were created in Europe by the European societies for themselves. And Arab intellectuals who went to study in the Sorbonne or in Oxford or in Yale adopted these ideas and brought them to the Middle East in order to change the culture from tribalism and Islam into modern countries. And this is how the modern countries were established, mainly by the West. I'm talking about Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, Yemen, Sudan, Libya. All these countries were established on Western ideas of government and parliament and all these things, which was more or less emulating the European paradigm of statehood. And it failed, because today all these countries are failing states. Lebanon is failed, Syria is failed, Iraq, Yemen, Libya, Sudan, when the governments are fighting their own people, definitely a failure of the idea. And this is actually the polos of the Middle East, the failures of the Western ideas which infiltrated the Middle East and destroyed the frameworks or the traditional frameworks. What I point out is there is a group of countries which are successful in the Middle East and not like the failures. Kuwait, Qatar is a successful. The behavior is wrong, but Qatar is a very successful state. 7 states united in the United Arab Emirates: Abu Dhabi, Dubai, Ras Al Khaimah, Fujairah, Ajman, Kaiwin. Okay, they are sovereign, like the European Union. Okay, so there are 7 states united in the Federation of the United Arab Emirates, Oman, the Sultanate of Oman, and the Saudi Arabian Kingdom. All are very successful. How come? They are built not on Western ideas, but built on one single tribe. Each and every one of them. Kuwait is actually a state which belongs to a family named Al-Sabah. Al is a separate word, means family. Al-Sabah are the owners of Kuwait, and they are everything there. Qatar is owned by Al Thani.
Mm-hmm.
Dubai is the country of Al Maktoum. Abu Dhabi, Al Nahyan. And Saudi Arabia is Al Saud, who actually gave the country the name. So here you are. If you establish a state on one homogeneous group, the country will be stable socially, it will be functioning politically, and it will be flourishing economically. This is how it works. Economy is the result of stability of the society and the political arena. While all the failing states are conglomerates of ethnic groups like Arabs, Turkmens, Armenians, Berbers in North Africa, and more. Tribes. Iraq has 76 tribes. Syria also something like this. Yemen, 200 tribes. Sudan, 600 tribes. Libya, who knows how many. Okay? And people remain loyal to the tribe, not to the state. And then you have religious groups, Muslims, Christians, Alawis, Druze, Yazidis. I ignore the Jews because they were all expelled from the Arab world. Mm-hmm. And only in Iraq, you have 10 religions. 10 religions only in Iraq. And some of those religions are divided to sects. The Muslims are divided to Sunnah and Shia and Salafis and Sufis and all kinds of others. Christians, when they were still in Iraq, there were 6 denominations. Most of them ran away. So here you are. The failing states, societies, each and every one, is a conglomerate, means unconsolidated gathering of ethnic groups, tribal groups, and or religious groups, and or sectarian groups. And the state tries to impose itself all the time with its agenda on all these groups, which in most cases want to remain or to stick to their tradition and to remain. This one is Sunni, this one is Shi'i, this one is Arab, this one is Kurdish. Okay? They don't want to be Syrian citizens with no identification of from the tradition. So this is actually the problem of all the failing states, which are multiple groups, heterogeneous societies, and this is why they cannot get their act together, and they fight within themselves, and they fight against the government, and the government fights the people, and this is the reason what you see in Syria, in Iraq, in Lebanon, all these failing states. Now, if we understand this difference between heterogeneous failing states and homogeneous successful states, this actually leads you to the idea that in order to solve the problems of the Middle East in general, and the Palestinian in particular, you have to look for the opportunity to create homogeneous units, even if they are small. Dubai is very small, and Dubai, by the way, has no oil, while Iraq has oil. Iraq is a failing state with oil, and Dubai is a heaven on earth without oil. So oil is not the issue here. It's how the society is built, and this is what makes the difference. And therefore, the conclusion is, if we want to reach any kind of stability, of peace in the Middle East, we should divide those conglomerates, namely Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, Yemen, Sudan, Libya, to homogeneous units. They could be a federation, they could be totally separate, I have no idea. But definitely they should be divided to homogeneous units. And every group should mind its own business and leave the others alone. And as you know, Maura, high fences make good neighbors.
So, Dr. Kedar, you proposed this tribal solution for Judea, Samaria, for Gaza. It sounds like such great sense, because what's happened in the past has not worked. So why should this work now?
First of all, if we try to establish a Palestinian state, which will be all over what they call the Palestinian society, it will be a failure like Syria. Why? The Palestinian society is highly fragmented along tribal lines. If you tell me the family name of somebody, I will tell you where he lives, because every clan lives in its own compound. If they cross the street and they move to another compound, they will be viewed as strangers, not from us. It is in Arabic, mush minna. Therefore, the homeland, in what we think is homeland, in the Arab world is the clan land, the land which is owned by the clan. This is the homeland. Once you go out to another tribe, you feel in exile. This how deeply tribalism is still engraved in the society and in the culture of the Middle East. Therefore, the only solution, the one and only, is to establish an emirate in Hebron for the clans of Hebron who live in Hebron only. The Jabari, Kawasme, Nache, Tamimi, Abu Snena, they live in different compounds in the city, and they have what they call Mahkama Ashairiyah, means a tribal court, which assembles every day or every other day in order to solve problems which might be between clans. And the solution is being found within half an hour of discussion. They don't need more. And everybody obeys these verdicts, which are topped by Bismillah Rahman Rahim, in the name of Allah. But the content is tribal content, not Islamic content. So this is how it works, and they can work as an emirate, just like Abu Dhabi and Dubai. Another emirate should be in Nablus for the three clans of Nablus, Masri, Tukan, and Shaka. They have the leadership. They don't need a PA. Abu Mazen, the president of the PA, he is viewed as illegitimate ruler because he was not born in Judea and Samaria and neither in Gaza. He was born in Sfat in the north, and everybody talks about him as not one of us. What is he doing here? Why should we obey him? He has absolutely no legitimacy. And it comes in every time and again by polls which are being done, but the worst fell in love with him and the PLO and the PA. And another emirate should be in Jericho for the tribe or the clan of the Arikat. You remember Saib Arikat? He was the king of Jericho. Another one in Ramallah for the Barghoutis. Another one in Tulkarem for the Karmis. Another one in Kalkilia, another one in Jenin. Israel should remain forever in the rural areas where the so-called settlements are 100%, and offer Israeli citizenship to the Palestinian villagers who live in the rural areas. This is not a demographic threat because they reach about 15% of the population, and the cities will be something between autonomous, independent, sovereign. We didn't decide on this point yet, but definitely they will not be part of Israel. They will be enclaves in Israel, enjoy freedoms, and Israel, of course, will manage its relations with each and everyone separately. They will have access to the sea, built on agreements with Israel. They will have access to the airport based on agreements with Israel. Will have electricity, water, whatever they need. They will take from Israel. Will buy, and they will work and will make money and will be flourishing just like Dubai,
So,
which
so
has
Dr.
no
Kedar,
oil.
how does it work then if these cities that have Arab tribes, it sounds as if Jews would not be allowed in these tribal areas, despite having a historical presence of Jews in there. Is that what you see?
Uh, Look, today the only Arab city in Judea and Samaria which has Jewish people in it is Hebron. There is a neighborhood which is a Jewish neighborhood in Hebron. They are in such good relations with the people of Hebron that they support this idea. Means the Jews and this presence of Jews in Hebron will be based on agreements between Israel and the Hebron Emirate, which will join the Abraham Accords. And I'm in connection with these sheikhs, with the leaders of those tribes, of those clans, and this is what they want, to join the Abraham Accords. They have no problem with Israel as long as they have control over their Hebron mountain. This is the best solution which can be for them and for us.
So the Jews in Hebron have Israeli courts, as well as they could have Jewish courts, for religious reasons. And the Arab courts, does the Israeli law supersede the Arab courts or has no presence
No,
there?
no, no. They have their own rules and laws, and they will run the Emirate of Hebron according to what they see appropriate. Israel not going to interfere in any of their own issues as long as they don't, let's say, carry out all kinds of actions against Israel and so forth. And don't forget, they are surrounded by Israel, and Israel can check whatever comes in order to make sure that nobody there produces all kinds of flying objects,
Yeah.
which might. And the suggestion is that all the pipes which they will import, at least in the first phase, will be made of plastic and not made of iron.
So how does this, let's talk about how, and we have another question that's come in about tribalism versus heterogeneous societies like America. So I'll get to that one next. But so we have two distinct cultures, religions in one city, like Hebron. How does it work with Islam, which believes in the infidel, and everybody else is less than they are? That's not democracy. And yet, overall, if it's Islamic land in Islam, it's always going to be Islamic land. So the ultimate objective is to reestablish it. You're saying that there would
Uh,
be peace, but how does that work with
but
Islam?
if you remember how I started, tribalism is one direction. Islam is a different direction. The clans of Hebron, their mindset is built on tribalism, not on Islam. Of course, they are Muslims, they pray, they everything, but the social behavior and the social management of the place is based on tribalism and not on Islam.
That's
And
kind of
therefore,
revolutionary. That's revolutionary. It's unbelievable.
this is the tradition. This is not revolutionary. This is the real tradition. Because, the Emirates in the Gulf are based on tribalism because each and every state belongs to a tribe. They rejected the ideas of the rule of Islam. They rejected the ideas of all kinds of modern ideas like socialism and communism and democracy. They stick to the tradition, which is the most powerful component of the culture in the Middle East, the tribalism.
And Muslim
So
Brotherhood
this is why
this.
this is why I'm not afraid that they become jihadists.
The ones that are for the plan, and I wish all Muslims would be for your plan. The Muslim Brotherhood has signed off on this plan.
For the Muslim Brotherhood, this is the enemy
Yeah, thank you.
because
Yeah.
the Muslim Brotherhood, like Hamas, as you know, there are clans in Gaza which try to take the place over,
Right.
especially their own local place. Hamas is fighting them viciously
Yep.
because Hamas knows that this is the only paradigm which can replace Hamas, and Hamas are built on Islam, not on tribalism. They know how to juggle with tribalism, but definitely they are based on the Islamic ideas of supremacism, of everything, or terrorism, supremacism, jihad, whatever. They are in the Islamic component of the culture. While what I advocate is to go and to enhance the tribal one, which is in most cases against Islam.
Yeah. So Dr. Kedar, United States of America, we are heterogeneous. And that's, of course, if the Muslim Brotherhood doesn't succeed in destroying our civilization. What is it about the Middle East that can't go in that direction? I mean, I understand what you're talking about, tribalism. Is it such part of the DNA of the Middle East that it could never be overcome? What can you talk a little bit about that? Because that was one of
Look,
the questions.
look, I don't know what never is. In 100 years, 200, 300, I don't know. I'm not a prophet.
Okay.
But definitely, cultures might go through changes through generations and centuries. Uh, to change society takes a long time. Or atrocities like the Second World War, which changed a lot in Europe, or the First World War. But I'm not advocating any atrocity like this. So to talk about the Middle Eastern culture, which should be changed, maybe people feel that it should be changed, but changing it actually is a very a hard mission to carry out. So instead of changing the society, we should create frameworks which fit the society as it is, because this is the only way how to achieve some kind of stability. Because if you try to change the society, you create mayhem, like in Syria and Iraq and Lebanon.
It's interesting what you say because Israel is the only democracy in the Middle East, and it has created a culture of heterogeneity. Muslims are, the Arabs are 20% of the population, and yet what we're talking about is illogical. I mean, what you're talking about, tribalism and having the Arab cultures, the Arab tribes assume the sovereignty of their own people makes such sense, and yet you're getting
So
such pushback.
there is a great difference between Israel, United States, Australia, on one side, Canada as well, and the Arab world on the other side. When you talk about Israel, United States, Canada, Australia, these are countries of migration,
Uh-huh.
countries which were made by migrants who came along the last 200 or 300 years from all over the world, from China, from Africa, from South America, from Europe, Eastern Europe, Western Europe, wherever, Russia. Every country sent people to the United States, to Canada, to Australia, and therefore the societies there, by definition, are a melting pot of individuals, and I emphasize the word individuals, or maximum nuclear families, father, mother, and kids, and they live together in the same neighborhood. They go to the same public school. They go to the same university. They work together in the working place. So this is what I mean by melting pot, which Israel is, and United States, and all that. Here in the Middle East, They never went through going to exile. People in Lebanon live in Lebanon for who knows how many millennia. People in Syria live in Syria. Okay, what came, what the new is the new paradigms of building a state. But the people there are there forever. They didn't move to Syria as individuals. They live in Syria as clans for who knows how many millennia. The same thing in Iraq, the same thing in Yemen. So you cannot compare the societies of countries which are based on migration, like the United States, Canada, Israel, and Australia, with societies which are living on their soil for who knows how many millennia, developing their own frameworks, which didn't break even recently. Okay.
You know, it sounds, and Yasser Arafat was an Egyptian who migrated to quote unquote create the Palestinians. So, he's the fly in the ointment. And it does sound, and we've unfortunately come to the end of our time, so we're going to have to wrap up. But I will say this: if the tribes could take their own power and supersede what Hamas and the Muslim Brotherhood and Qatar and all their fomenting of violence have done, there just might be peace in the Middle East because your tribal solution seems to make the most sense. And the people that are in those tribes, that is what they want.
This is what I mean. Uh, and is this actually the solution, not only for the Israeli-Palestinian problem? It is a solution for Syria,
Yes.
divided to a
Yep.
Kurdish state. By the way, the Kurds in Syria established a state like 10 years ago. The name of this state is Rojava, which means in Kurdish, the Western District.
Huh.
Rojava, this is the name. Who knows about this? And they are struggling to survive as a state because they don't want the Arabs, although they are all Muslims.
Right.
Another state should be for the Alawites, maybe with the Christians as well, together. Another state for the Druze in the south, the Bedouins in the east, who are definitely different culture. And the atrocities of Syria today, since 15 years already, they are the result of the fact that the French, when they established Syria in the 30s and the 40s, under the mandate from the League of Nations, they ignored the sociology. They ignored the sociology in Lebanon as well,
Yep.
which is comprised also on groups of Shia and Sunna and Druze and Christians who are also fragmented. And they means that the superpowers, the French and the British and the Italian, just ignored the societies in these countries. Who cared about the society? Who cares about Arabs? Who cares about Muslims? In those years, they just saw everything through the lens of their interests in these countries, the oil and the timber in Africa and all these things, which they wanted to take advantage of the lands which they colonized. They couldn't care less about people. And the more Arabs die from their point of view is better. This is how they were talking, this is how they were thinking. This is why they created those dysfunctional countries like Syria and Iraq and all these. And what I say is, okay, we understood the problem. Let's try to correct it. Let's try to divide it. Iraq should be divided at least to three parts: the Kurdish state, the Sunni, and the Shia, because we see that they don't live together in peace. Why force them to live in one framework which failed to replace their sectarian loyalties to one loyalty to the state? So
Well,
why fight?
why fight it? Because, and Dr. Gadar, what you have just stated is that we know it hasn't worked. Tribalism does work. We see it in the Emirates. Let's push that. So we've come to the end of our time. I want to thank you so much for all you've done and are doing to promote peace in the Middle East. And when maybe the weight of the tribes against those who hate that your solution, you'll win out, and the tribes will win out, and then finally will be peace in the Middle East. So I want to thank you for your time and your wisdom, and thank everyone for attending. We'll be hosting Israel Now Forum webinars in 2026 on Tuesdays at noon Central Time, So you can check our website for announcements and, of course, in your inbox. Our website is israelnowforum.org. Thank you so much, Dr. Kedar. Bye for now.
Pleasure to be here more.